an unelected Quango have declared trade sanctions against foreign countries' trade. So they have coerced banking institutions to prohibit payments of UK credit and debit card users from purchasing material from abroad.
So it's not so much that you face legal sanctions.
It's not just the issue of pornography. Pornography is the canary in the coal mine of free speech. If it dies, other freedoms will fall
But in other words, this is...
Well, Madman here again, bringing you more of the insanity that is out there. As I used to put, the moment in the asylum, because literally, what's been going on around the world is just total bedlam and insanity out there. You know, to the point that maybe we should bring back those mental asylums that we shut down a long time ago, because it's time that there are people out there that needs a little help out there. But besides that, there are things that are going on in government, and we've talked about this before, is total censorship that is on its way. We've had some issues here in the United States. We have some wins, we have some losses. There's been some losses over at SCOTUS, but the fight is still going on, and we have a lot of stories this week concerning a lot of what is going on in the next 2 weeks. As far as some laws have been put on hold, others, continuing on, and you wouldn't believe on some of these stories that basically these laws are conflicting with country laws itself, like in the EU itself, and that's coming along very soon too. But let's switch gears into the United Kingdom with literally, ladies and gentlemen, the United Kingdom has fallen. It is just literally fallen. It's bedlam out there. You can't even say what you feel on the internet without someone knocking on your door and coming to basically either arrest you or to search your own home. And besides that, you have the age verification, age assurance, Ofcom trying to control what you're watching on there. The BBC network is now charging the United States to watch and listen to their programming here in the U.S. They're going to be charging you now so they can pay what they've lost from their own viewers and listeners from the licensings that they used to be able to get a lot of money from, but now people have woken up over there and says, I ain't going to pay for those licenses anymore. But before we start on this insane appointment in the UK Parliament, I just want to say, drop a comment, hit the like, hit the share, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button. It's very, very important. It's on a daily basis. We're trying to move up on the algorithm. We've been very slow. It is the summer. I don't expect too much increase, but hey, listen, if you're out there, you're watching, and you haven't had that moment to subscribe, hit it now. Give us a hand. Give us a leg up onto that situation, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Rumble. I know Rumble, we've been moving upward, but like I said, summertime tends to slow down unless you're on that top tier to that situation. But once again, thank you for viewing and being there for us. So, United Kingdom is calling for the lawmakers are calling for an appointment of a porn minister. I kid you not. This is something that is going on. They're trying to control the situations by, putting people in place to say, this is bad, this is what you should be watching. And it's not, and I said this once and I said it again, it's not going to stop at porn. Here's an article here from XBiz, and this was back at the end of June. We're just now catching up on this. UK lawmaker calls for appointment of porn minister. You can't make this shit up. Baroness Gabby Bertin, the Conservative member of Parliament, who recently convened a new anti-porn task force, and we had that video if you haven't seen that yet, is calling for the appointment of a minister of porn, according to the British news outlet The Guardian. Bertin told The Guardian that the government needs urgently to appoint a minister for porn in order to make sure the issue gets the attention it deserves. While she did not nominate any particular person to fill that role, yeah, bullshit, Bertin did repeatedly make it clear that she considers herself, of course, to be the only member of parliament willing to focus on and discuss the issues to pornography. What does that sound like to you, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, it just literally, you have this Baroness, she's saying, it's starting to sound like V for Vendetta. The way the media runs in V for Vendetta. As Express reported last week, Bertin, a member of the unelected House of Lords, served as an architect of the influential pornography review that recommends banning adult content deeming degrading, violent, and misogynistic. That the report has already begun to shape legislation and government policy in the UK. As Express reported earlier in June, Bertin called for the criminalization of content featuring choking, has now made its way into the legislation proposals, with the government announcing its plan to enact such a ban. The thing that gets me, and I know people out there are going to say, well, choking is bad and stuff like that. Really, you're going to sit there and tell me that is more important out there than some of the shit that's going on in your own country. There's a lot more shit more important than, someone doing it in a movie, choking someone in a movie, which is basically, for some people that gets their rocks off. For other people, it's not real. What they're going to do, ban the ones in regular movies as well? I mean, this is such insanity that goes on. Continuing on, Bertin's new Independent Pornography Review Taskforce report includes politicians, law enforcement, and non-profit groups. Why would law enforcement be involved in this? Yeah, because they're going to send people to you. They're going to send police to your own home. In its deliberations on how to regulate online content. But the Guardian article noticed that she has not invited any adult industry representatives to join the group, as she is wary of anything that they might let the industry mark their own homework. In other words, she doesn't want them there. She doesn't care to the situation. This is someone who's one of these Puritans that just doesn't want this kind of content out there. In February of 2024, representatives of the Free Speech Coalition, along with sex workers, producers, and industry advocates, pressed for ongoing discussions with industry stakeholders during a meeting with Bertin that the FSC Executive Director Alison Bowden called on an opportunity to contest misinformation and bad policy. According to the FSC Director of Public Policy, Mike Stable, the trade's organization involvement in consulting process was often contentious. From the beginning of the process, it was clear that the review had a specific goal, a broad crackdown on adult content, Stable told Express earlier this year, when the recommendations of pornography review were announced. And see, this is what it is. This has nothing to do with protecting the children. Again, this is pure censorship. People say, well, porn needs to be censored. Let me tell you something. This is how it starts. And I've said this before. And I continue to say it. They're going to, this is a red herring. One of the comment lines said this. This has nothing to do with pornography. All this has to do with is basically control.
Yeah. Pornography is the canary in the coal mine of free speech. Yeah. If it dies, other freedoms will fall off.
But in other words,
there are people in office right now that are radicals, that are looking towards socialist, communist values. And they need to be taken out of office because this is what they're doing. And this is both sides of the aisle. There are those that just sit there and said, we don't need this anymore. These are the same fights that we here in the U.S. have been fighting for decades. I can go back, and I keep mentioning this, the Senate subcommittee hearings of the 1990s, and even some from the 80s, that, they sat there and used, U.S. tax dollars to demonize the TV industry, Hollywood, the record industry, the video game industry, Saturday morning cartoons. They said, well, we can't have this. We can't, this situation. Kids need to be more educated and stuff like that. Where are we today? We don't have Saturday morning cartoons anymore. So what has that done? What has that helped? Nothing. It is the politicians. It is the union groups, the union leaders that are the problem. I'm not, me, myself, I applaud for unions. But it's the leadership that is the main problem, especially the school unions, the teachers' unions that have been hampering education in the U.S. itself. A lot of these issues and problems that have been occurring in our country can be resolved with the simplest touch on there, because there are laws on the books. There are, major laws on the books that have been there that should be enacted and used. But yet they're enacting more laws to the situation that they're basically they want to redefine obscene and take things out. I had someone the other day who says, well, you shouldn't worry about the video nasty list to that situation. Really? Well, Ofcom, has that list. And they're going to continue to look for those movies in people's homes. They're going to enforce those laws down the line. And if you have that movie, you're going to be in deep trouble if you're in the UK. This is not something that is going to be brushed aside. People have been arrested for far less in the United Kingdom. They've been arrested for praying silently. They've been arrested for what they post on social media. They've had the police knock on their door and search their homes. What kind of fucking police state is that? You tell me, you comment, down there, and you let me know. Because basically, this is an insane situation. And when you hear stuff like this, they want to put a porn minister. All this is it's not a porn minister. It is a censorship minister. A minister of censorship. That's all this is. This is someone the person who's pushing this is, Baroness Gabby Bertin. She's unelected. Think about that for a minute. This is someone that's unelected in office right now. And she's pushing all this because she herself and others who are working around the world, she has contact with other groups, including Morality and Media, and many others that are sitting on, in the courtrooms and stuff like that are just sitting there pushing these laws, that they're whispering in the ears of the politicians and those in the media to demonize what is on the internet. Again, I'll say this. If there's something you don't like, if there's something you don't enjoy when you pick up a book, you hear on the radio, you watch on television, see on the internet, turn away from it. Nobody is forcing you to watch. As much as you think that things are being pushed onto yourself, onto children, you can walk away from that easily. If your system, and I'll go for the internet, if your system is showing you advertisement for adult content, first of all, what are you watching that triggers that? That should be the question you should be asking. What am I watching that basically can trigger that? And then use the tools that are adapted in your computer to push that away. You're able to do that yourself. No, you don't want the government to step in. You don't want the government to step in and censor what you want to watch. So comment. Drop a comment. Let me know. What are your thoughts about this? This is another insane thing that's going on in the United Kingdom right now. I mean, this is to the point where we're getting there that, you know, we might need to stop talking to the United Kingdom. You know, nothing against the people. The government is the issue. And you know that basically the people are, you know, beginning to, you know, what they call rabble rouse, you know, that basically eventually you might be dealing with a revolution in the United Kingdom down the line. You know, this could be major that's coming to that situation. And it's not only in England. You know, you're talking about Ireland and Scotland and the rest there. So once again, comment, like, share, and hopefully today's the day I've earned your subscription. Remember, Taco Thursday, every Thursday right here on YouTube and Rumble, 6 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to check out Sci-Fi Snob's Babylon 5 retrospective. The next episode will be live this week, 11 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. Be sure to check it out and give him a subscribe on there. Be sure to check out all of our other videos here on CutieCast TV. And we'll see you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in, and so long now.